It's no surprise that I grew up with Barbie movies. I had the DVDs as a kid, I followed up on new releases until years after I had left the target age group, and I continue to keep up with the franchise to this day just to see what's going on. This love also extended to Barbie dolls themselves. I had a bunch of them as a kid and I loved playing with them. I didn't have a lot of the movie Barbies, but that didn't stop me from naming my favorite doll Clara after Clara from the Nutcracker, just because I loved her the most. I mean, she did have elbow articulation. If we're talking about toys though, then it would be possible to argue that my biggest collection wasn't Barbie. It was Polly Pocket. Look, I'm not gonna go around pitting two queens against one another. Polly and Barbie are both great, and whatever side you stand the most is a terrific choice. Great doll lines, great fun times, great free website flash games that literally defined my childhood. Oh my god, why did they have to take them down? I just want to choose an outfit for Polly's rockstar show. One advantage that Barbie has, however, is the fact that her character comes with a massive movie lineup that is a great commercial and storytelling success. So it's no surprise that Polly also wanted to get a slice of that pie. And the result?
The whole thing is monster fabularific.
Well, let's talk about that. Join me as I explore the impossibly perfect universe of Polly Kingston Pocket as I want to talk about Pollyworld. Pollyworld is a 2006 movie that premiered on television and was later released on home video. It tells the story of Polly Pocket, the child of apparent multi-billionaire John Pocket, as she and her classmates play through a live TV game show that puts their friendships to the test, as well as dealing with the fact that her father intends on marrying a woman who might not be as nice as she seems. This movie manages to be a lot, but at the same time, very little. We are introduced to the story by catching Polly and her friends watching a game show called Roll Like That while sitting on Polly's beautiful, gigantic bedroom, inside her beautiful, gigantic mansion. The girls wonder how they would deal with the challenges if they were the ones on the show, and immediately after that they get the news that their class was chosen as the next contestants, and the upcoming games would be filmed on Polly's beautiful, gigantic theme park. On the following day, Polly's classroom is officially made aware of the news and they already start forming teams for the game show. We are also introduced to Beth, Polly's apparent rival, who is angry that she is stuck behind Polly on the popularity scale and sees the show as an opportunity to change that fact. Polly herself doesn't seem affected by Betty's bitterness and instead just wants to have a fun weekend with her friends.
Dad, hey, I had to call you.
Girl, what are you talking about? He called you. They arrive at the park and already begin shooting. The game show is based on challenges where teams have to solve clues and work together in order to win. But they only need to play through 1 or 2 rounds each day, meaning they get to spend the rest of the weekend roaming free at the Pollyworld theme park. Each team gets a beautiful, gigantic 5-star suite, and I am very concerned over how the floor of Polly's room seems to be made out of actual sand. Polly goes to see her dad, who claims he has a surprise for her. The surprise turns out to be Lorelai, John's new fiancé. The couple seems excited about the news, but Polly has some mixed feelings, even though she tries her best to sound friendly. The rest of the movie consists of the teams playing through game show challenges, which include obstacle courses, scavenger hunts, and whatever this is.
Congratulations!
We also follow Polly's attempts at coming to terms with her dad's new marriage, trying to figure out how she really feels about Lorelai. The lady herself, however, sees Polly as a threat and intends to ship her off to boarding school. Betty tries working with her despite being like 12, and Lorelai uses their rivalry to her own advantage. Polly eventually finds out about the whole plan, but refrains from ratting her stepmom out, because she wants her dad to have a shot at finding love again. Thinking that this is their last weekend together, the girls try to make the most out of it and work even harder to win the competition. Lorelai does that movie thing where she reveals her evil plan, but oh no! It turns out she was being recorded the whole time and everyone watched the transmission. Now everyone knows she's evil. No! Polly's dad breaks up with her, the girl gets to stay with her friends, and they all watch the fireworks after what I assume is just a slightly wilder version of your average weekend with the Pockets. The end. Yeah, okay. This movie is a trip. Remember how I said that this film manages to be a lot, but at the same time, very little? The story's the biggest proof of that. You have an entire plot about a live game show filmed on a theme park, which is in itself enough material for a whole movie's worth of drama. And on top of that, you add a whole nother narrative about an evil stepmom. The Lorelai plot is supposed to serve as the emotional core of the movie. Polly's real conflicts stem from trying to sort out her feelings and see if she can ever truly find it within herself to accept this woman into the family. This is a very real struggle that a lot of children of divorced or even deceased parents go through, and it's depicted here with a surprising level of nuance. Polly is fairly shocked to hear the news, especially with how she was caught off guard, and even if she's not entirely happy about it, she still tries to act with relative neutrality and reciprocate Lorelai's initial kindness. She goes to her friends for advice on the matter and admits that although Lorelai has done nothing particularly wrong, she still has a bad feeling about her, and she doesn't know whether it comes from genuine instinct or sheer reluctance to accept that her father has moved on romantically. Her friends, on the other hand, provide a safe space for Polly to express her concerns, and they also try to reach a healthy balance. They tell her to trust her guts, but to also remain open-minded. They suggest that she tries hanging out with Lorelai and get to know her a little more, for better or for worse. They also reassure Polly that her own feelings are worth respecting, and that her happiness matters just as much as her father's. If Lorelai makes her uneasy, she should make sure her dad knows about it. This kind of subtlety is completely thrown out the window with Lorelai's side of the story. She's just straight up evil. A mean stepmother who wants to marry a guy presumably for his wealth and ship his bratty daughter off to boarding school. How very Parent Trap of her. By the way, what is it with kids' movies and boarding schools? Why is that always the ultimate idea of a joyless hellscape? Is that like an actual thing? Please tell me your boarding school experiences in the comments, I'm not an American. So this whole Lorelai dilemma takes up a great deal of the story, and the game show thing is just there. Every now and then, the girls get a clue about their next challenge, they get there 5 minutes before it starts, they leave as soon as it's done, and they forget about it for another 12 hours. From Polly's perspective, the game show stakes are just laughable. There's this one challenge where her team loses, and as a prize, the winning team gets to spend an evening swimming with dolphins at yet another facet of Pollyworld's gigantic, never-ending array of activities. And the girl who caused Polly's team to lose laments over how they won't get to spend the evening swimming with dolphins. Polly and the team tell her that it doesn't really matter, they can still have plenty of fun at Pollyworld, and then Polly's dad takes them shopping. Wow, I wonder what company is sponsoring this movie. I mean, it's just so seamlessly integrated into the art style. And I mean, yeah, winning the challenge doesn't matter. Pollyworld is a park without limits, and they have free access to everything. Malls, rides, restaurants, roller skate arenas, it's all part of the package. I bet they could go swimming with dolphins anytime they wanted. The grand prize is $100,000 that they can give to a charity of their choice. So it brings no personal benefit to the kids aside from the satisfaction of helping a good cause. And that amount of cash seems minuscule when compared to the infinite riches of the Pocket family. Polly has an entire theme park named after her and built to her liking, as well as enough money to do whatever she wants. Being on roll like that is no different than just hanging out at her own park, with the addition that this time her classmates get to come along. But nothing was stopping her from inviting them before. I get that they wanted Polly to have a perfect life so Lorelai could feel more dangerous by threatening to take that away from her, but they pushed it so far that it made the rest of the movie lose its punch. Polly's existence is so free of torment that the more I think about it, the more disturbed I feel. Right off the bat, we are thrust into this world of unbelievable wealth and privilege. Polly has a way of life that is available only to the very tippy top of the social pyramid. Her riches are so extensive that her own knowledge of them feels fickle at times. When she meets her dad at a restaurant on the first half of the film, he asks what she thinks of the park, and she replies that she loves it. But did John not have access to this information? Is this the first time he gets to hear Polly's opinion? Had Polly ever truly been to the park before? As a way of introducing Lorelai, he talks about how much he loves his daughter, and how he wants her to have everything. They seem to have a very close relationship, so it's weird that he talks as though he truly didn't know what Polly thought of the park. Did he get Polly's input at all during construction? How involved was she in the process? But more importantly, is he marrying Lorelai just because that's his way of giving Polly a mother? Lorelai later convinces him to send Polly off to boarding school, and the girl has no say on the matter. He was going to marry Lorelai for Polly's sake, but Polly never asked for it. How much control does Polly have over her father's gifts? Is John really following his daughter's wishes, or is he just doing what he assumes will make her happy? How well do they even know each other? Polly seems to have been raised by her butler, and even goes as far as calling him a mother figure. So how much presence does John even hold in his daughter's life? Does he actually want to spend time with her, or is she just a prop for him to spoil with material gifts? Does John see Polly as a person, or is she just a doll for him to create outfits and build elaborate sets for? I am thinking way too hard about this. The bottom line is that Pollyworld is a cute little movie that tickles the side of my brain that craves girly adventure centered around the power of friendship and general school drama. Even if it goes a bit too far at times, Polly's world of perfection is very inviting and fun to explore, and I'm sure many kids out there had a great time following this movie series. Yeah, you heard me right. Movie series. There are actually 2 other movies that came before Pollyworld. I mean, calling them movies is a bit generous since they're both 20 minutes long, but they all take place more or less in the same universe, and they serve to explore Polly's incredibly privileged existence. The first film to be released was Polly Pocket Lunar Eclipse from 2004, and it's a bit of a weird addition to the canon. The art style is very different, trying to go for its own stylized version of the character instead of the model that the brand was using at the time. The plot here is that Polly and her friends need to complete a science project about a lunar eclipse, leading them to travel to Polly's private island on the South Pacific in order to take some pictures of the phenomenon. Polly's rival tries to sabotage the team's work, but they still manage to work through their adversities and deliver an excellent presentation. From the animation style to the plot and the pacing, this feels like an episode of a TV show. Polly's cast of friends is slightly different from other incarnations, but the general idea is still there. Although the school environment attempts to ground the story a little by having the girls deal with more mundane challenges, the story is still very much based on Polly's absurd displays of wealth. They could have just made a PowerPoint on lunar eclipses, but instead they take a last-minute flight on a private jet to a private island where Polly has a private water park just so that they can take some pictures of the moon. The art style reminds me a bit of shows like Sabrina the Animated Series and Braceface, and I can see myself being a fan of Polly's cartoons as a kid had it actually been a full series. I don't know why they tried such a different design when producing Polly's first animated feature, but I admire their attempts at trying something new. The second Polly Pocket movie is Polly Pocket 2: Cool at the Pocket Plaza from 2005. The animation looks a lot more like what we see in Pollyworld, though it's considerably smoother, and it seems to follow the actual models for how the doll was depicted at the time. Calling this movie Polly Pocket 2 when the first one was so different art-wise and had a different cast of friends is very confusing, but I don't think they cared much for that. The story here is that Polly invites her friends to stay at her new hotel where their band will perform a show, and they also meet Polly's cousin, Pia. God, they really named her Pia. Poor thing. Pia and Polly are considered to be identical, which is a very funny thing to say when every girl in this movie has the exact same face. They also pull a parent trap and switch places so that Pia can play with Polly's band despite her nanny's prohibition. Betty is also there and she's trying to stop Polly from playing at the show, but at the end, Polly prevails. Only then we got the Pollyworld film, and we all know how that went. Overall, this media franchise is... well, it is what it is. There's no point in trying to follow the continuity of the movies because there's barely anything there. The events of one adventure don't influence the other, the cast of friends and the art styles changes at a whim, and you don't need much of a context to understand that Polly is unfathomably rich. As with any other girl-centered media that try to jumpstart their Barbie-like movie empire, the question here remains the same. Why did Barbie succeed in the world of home video releases when Polly Pocket apparently failed? I think there's a few reasons for that, the first being the art style. While the CGI models helped Barbie keep her identity very close to the doll, Polly's 2D animation had a wider gap to fill, especially with the stylistic changes of the first movie. They nail the models for the second and third installments, but it just helps further the confusion of why they had changed it in the first place. The characters are also not helping. Polly's cast of friends is well-meaning, but there isn't much of a difference between the individual companions. They are all fashionable, friendly girls whose traits largely overlap. I can switch their lines at will between them and nothing about the stories will change. Polly's character is also a bit limiting. I don't actually mind her personality. In the third movie especially, she has room to show more of her own will and has a bigger journey to go through. I like it how she doesn't have all of the answers. When she struggles with the news that she might be getting a stepmom, it takes her a while to figure out how she feels, and she's not afraid of turning to her friends for help. Still, there's only so much you can do with a generically nice middle schooler, and unless they kept offering her bigger kinds of development, I feel like she would grow stale pretty fast. Ironically enough, the character who stands out the most is Beth, just because she's the only one allowed to have an actual personality, even if it is based on petty drama. The first movie has a line about how her rivalry with Polly comes from how her parents demand her to be number one in everything, and that pressure manifests as a wish to take Polly down, but that's not mentioned in any of the other movies. The biggest advantage that the Pollyverse provides us is an apparent lack of limits. The Pocket family has properties all over the world. They own a dozen different businesses, and Polly can travel between these facilities whenever she wants. Anything can be a setting for a new adventure, even if it is all based around the idea of Polly being impossibly rich. Unfortunately, we only got 3 movies out of this experiment, so we never got to see what other crazy places the Polly Pals could visit. If you look at the movies from a toy-selling perspective, though, there's another set of issues there. The dolls are supposed to help sell the movie and vice versa, but for a while, even the toy sales for Polly Pocket weren't doing all that well. This is especially true in the third movie, as they seem to be advertising their quick click line, where the clothes stick to the dolls thanks to tiny magnets. But many toys from this line had to be recalled specifically because a kid swallowed the tiny magnets. The doll was even discontinued for a while in 2012, returning with a new look in 2018. In the end, I guess the death of the Polly Pocket cinematic universe came because they just stopped trying. The brand itself is still out there despite the setbacks, they just gave up on this kind of animated movie at the time. Polly eventually got a whole new series where she's like Ant-Man and she can use a special device to grow bigger or smaller according to her wishes, and that seems to be a fun time. Polly's character was reworked a bit, so she's got a stronger personality now, and the cast of friends has been downsized, thus making them more manageable and also more memorable. It's nice to know that Polly's adventures in the animated universe got a second chance. I remember having rented the Pollyworld movie exactly once, but that was enough to leave it etched onto my brain forever. I hadn't watched the first and second films until I started working on this video, but now that I have, it makes me glad that Polly found a new home as a TV show character. Because really, she's always felt like more of an episodic series gal rather than a movie star. Despite having been less successful than other doll movie making attempts, I'm sure that Polly Pocket found her audience back in the day, as it continues to find one now. I will always look back to Pollyworld with a sense of wonder, as wacky as that movie can be, and my heart will always have room for Polly and her pals. Thank you for watching. Well, hello there. It was very nice of you to watch this video. Special thanks to my beautiful patrons for making videos like these possible. You are the best pals a Polly could ask for. If you would like to join the gang, click the link in the description. If you have enjoyed the video, you can also help me out by clicking the like button, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell too. You can also follow me on Twitter and share this video with your friends. Feel free to leave a comment down below, especially if it is about how much you love Polly Pocket. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye! Beth is never gonna forgive me for calling her buddy like 5 times in this video, is she? Beth, my queen, I'm so sorry.